Welcome back to the Being Better Everyday podcast. Today is part 3 of 4 of our SEO mini series for small business owners. And today we are talking about all of the additional metrics outside of keywords that your web pages should have and how to optimize them. So I'm going to define each of the terms. I'm going to talk through what they mean. And then again, I think the important thing to take away here is just because you build it doesn't mean Google will come. And these are things that will help make sure that you are seen and that you get the traffic that you deserve. I am on a journey to get better in all areas of my life, and I want to do it with you. Welcome to the Being Better Everyday podcast, where we dig deep into all the things a millennial mom needs to know. From how to juggle your passions with your full-time job, to asking the hard questions about hormones and health, and learning from one another along the way. I am Julie Wenslick, and as a mom, business owner, and corporate girly, sometimes life can feel like a lot. So join me in the journey of being better every day, where we create habits and routines that support your life, create calm in the chaos, and put the you back in your everyday. Grab those headphones, put on your shoes, and join me on a walk while we get started with today's episode. So first things first, let's talk through what I would call those on-page SEO metrics. Now, the first one is something that I almost went down a little bit of a tangent on within the first episode, and that is header tags, because this is something that I'm seeing as a pretty common mistake within web design as well as people building their own web pages. And again, if you're somebody who built your own web page, I totally understand not getting those tags right the first time around, but it's something that I would highly suggest that you update while concurrently you do, your updated keyword research. So what are header tags? Header tags are basically tags. Depending on the platform, it's either a design element or it's a separate and distinct unique tag that allows you to tell Google what your page is about. So each website and each blog should only have one header tag. Think of that as your book title, right? You don't have multiple book titles within a book. You have one title and then you have subheaders, chapters. So your header tag, each website should only have one H1 tag. That H1 tag should tell Google what your webpage is about. Now, it doesn't necessarily have to be a design element. Certain web platforms, it is restricted by design element. So for example, on Squarespace, it's restricted by design element unless you manually do code to override that. On Show It, it is not. It is just a tag and it's not related to the design. Same thing with WordPress. I think on Wix, it's also related to the design, right? So it does depend, but it is something that is extremely important and is not just a design element. So header tags, each page should have an H1 tag. And then think of H2 as like the chapters of the book. So you will want as many H2 tags as you want, but they should be relevant to the H1 tag. And then from there, the less important, the higher the number on the header tag. So H3, H4, etc. You're basically telling Google to deprioritize those tags. But the most important thing, right, is one header tag or H1 tag, multiple H2 tags. So for example, I'm going to go through this example because I think it's important to kind of talk through what that actually looks like in practice. So I recently re-optimized a web page for a client of mine who is a birth doula. So when I took her page, or when I audited her website, her H1 header tags on the web page were as follows. What is a birth doula? What is included in this package? Keep in mind, if Google were to read what is included in this package independently, does that tell you anything about the website? No, because in this package is too generic, right? The third H1 tag was birth doula package not for you, question mark. And then the fourth header tag, H1 header tag, was also visit. And then she had about 5 H2 tags, 5 H3 tags. Now, when I re-optimized the website, her new H1 tag is what is a birth doula, how to moms services, blah, blah, blah. I can't see the rest of it. But That is the H1 tag. Now, generally, H1 tags should have less than 60 characters. If they have a little bit more than that, sometimes they can get confusing for Google. Depends on the website whether I stick to that or not. Now, she has about, I don't know, 10 or a little less than 10 H2 tags. These H2 tags are empowering and honoring moms, which is her kind of slogan. Doulas in Minneapolis. Experience with empowered birth in the Twin Cities. What is a birth doula? Benefits of hiring a birth doula. What is included in the How to Mom's birth doula package? Exclusive How to Mom birth doula client perks. Pelvic floor health, lactation services, pregnancy dietitian, prenatal yoga. How much does a birth doula cost? And then H3 tags, in-person package, virtual package, doula support, right? Kind of more generic header tags. So what you'll be able to tell from that example is instead of confusing Google and saying, here's 5 H1 tags, here's the main one H1 tag, which is what is a birth doula? And then from there, right, all these header 2 tags relate to what is a birth doula /doula services. Now, that's just one example. I look at her best performing blog outside of one that went viral, and the H1 tag is top 10 hacks to run an efficient household. That is the perfect header that has optimized keywords. And that's why that blog is doing well. She also then has multiple H2 tags, and all of those H2 tags relate back to those top 10 hacks. So another way of looking at this is, again, making sure that you're not duplicating by design. So in Squarespace, it's very easy to accidentally have additional H1 tags because some of their design elements automatically default to H1 tags. So I have a Chrome extension built into my desktop at this point that I can just turn on and off, and I can see how header tags are actually showing up on a website outside of actually being in the developer mode. And it's called Headings Map. So if you are curious about what your website header tags look like, if you're not the one designing your own website, again, I highly recommend installing the Headings Map free Chrome extension. Free Chrome extension. Okay, so again, go back to listen to episode 2 of the series if you want to look at like what keywords you should have within those header tags. But again, your keywords should always be within your header tags and always within usually the first paragraph of that web page as well. Now, the second thing from an on-page SEO perspective is what's called alt text. Now, certain web platforms, this is easier than others. I will say it drives me nuts that on Squarespace, it is not dependent on the image, it is dependent on the page. So if I have the same image on 15 different web pages, I have to put in alt text for all 15 different of those web pages. Whereas like on WordPress and Showit, I believe the alt text is dependent on the image, not the page. So you only have to put it in once. But alt text is the description of your images mainly for accessibility purposes, but it also helps search engines understand what your images are about because obviously search engines can't read images. So be sure to include relevant keywords here, but do it naturally. So what this means is if I'm looking at a picture of a woman, because I'm currently looking at a picture of a woman standing on some pictures, and it's kind of like an editorial shot, and it's a editorial image for the cover of a web page for a community that I am speaking to. Now, currently, their alt text is actually empty on their page, which means if there is somebody who is blind trying to read their web page, there will not be any images read. Or, example, Google's not reading any of those images. So what I would do is, for example, for that alt text image, instead of saying, image of, again, you don't need to say that. That's the whole point of alt text. You would just say editorial shot, woman standing on, or a woman standing on editorial pictures representing community for, and then the name of the community. So you're kind of going to want to tie in your keywords somehow, but you need to make it natural. Again, that wasn't a great example, but, or, if I'm working with my doula client, it would be, woman in labor assisted by How to Mom Doula. Again, so kind of using that How to Mom Doula services within the image, but also describing the image at the same time. So alt text is something that helps from an SEO perspective. It's not necessarily a ranking factor, but it does help from not only an accessibility, making sure you're in compliance with accessibility, but then helping from adding those additional keywords and searchability. Now, the third thing that's important from an on-page SEO perspective is SEO title and meta description. Now, depending on your platform, this is going to be something that is found in different areas. Depending on your platform, with WordPress, it's kind of before you edit the web page. It's within the Yoast SEO plugin. I think Showit might be similar. On Squarespace, it's within a different SEO like section within the page. Wix, same thing. It's within an SEO section. But SEO title is a ranking factor. Meta description is not. However, when we look at your metrics and we look at click-through rates, meta description is very important. So SEO title is the title of your web page that shows up on the search engine. So for example, my homepage, instead of just saying P&W Designs, which is great, has my name, is searchable, mine says P&W Designs, it has a line, and then it says branding, Pinterest, and web design. Because again, it's showing the person on Google what my business is about. And it uses those keywords. Another example of this would be for my SEO services page. So instead of just having my keywords be SEO, SEO services, I have SEO well, I'm going to use a different one. SEO monitoring tools, your free guide, blah, blah, blah. Or 5 must-have SEO monitoring tools, right? So I'm making sure that my title describes and it has a long tail keyword included. What you'll notice is it doesn't necessarily have to have your business name in it besides your homepage or maybe your about page, right? Your services page should be about the service, not about your business name. So for my services page, I'm not just saying P&W Design Services because people aren't searching for P&W Design Services. They may be searching for P&W Designs, but in general, right, they're not searching for that. They're searching for my SEO title is branding and web design services for small businesses. It has nothing to do with P&W Designs, right? Because that's not what they're searching for. So your SEO title is the title that will show up on that first, like the blue section within Google. It's very important to make sure that these are customized. They should be longer than 30 characters, but not too long to make sure that they are, searchable. The other thing is that meta description. So the meta description is the little paragraph that shows up below the title within search engines. And a common thing I'm finding is that meta descriptions are not properly filled out. So if you have the same meta description for every single web page, Google doesn't like that because then you're not telling the user what that page is actually about. It will be something that will come up on your SEO audit and optimization if you do hire me to do that, because it is something that is important, even if it's not a ranking factor. So what a meta description is it's generally going to be under 150 characters, and it's going to very briefly describe what the page is about, why they should click on that page. So for example, my branding and web design services for small businesses is expert branding and web design for female entrepreneurs, tailored graphic design, web solutions, and marketing collateral to elevate your small business. Or my SEO monitoring tools webpage says boost your website's SEO with a free guide to essential SEO monitoring tools. Again, SEO monitoring tools is the keyword that I am targeting. I'm making sure it's in the header and the description, as well as within my header tags on the actual page. So again, make sure that you are doing your SEO meta descriptions. I recently audited another website, and again, almost every single page didn't have proper meta descriptions, which is then going to mean that you're not going to get clicked on. If you don't have a proper meta description and it has nothing to do with the web page, then somebody's not going to click on it because they don't feel like that the source is for them reliable. So far we've covered header tags, alt text, SEO title, and meta descriptions. The third thing we're going to talk about is linking. So one of the factors in the MOTS domain authority is backlinking. So domain authority is a score developed by MOTS that predicts how well your website is likely to rank on search engine results page, which is called SERPs. The score ranges from 1 to 100, but don't worry, almost everyone doesn't, there's only one site that's even close to 100, and that's YouTube. So having a domain authority above 10 is kind of the norm if you're an established website. If you are a newer website, being under 10 is very normal, and it is something that I am currently only under 10. Things that MOTS looks at from a domain authority perspective is the number of other websites linking to your own website, which is called a backlink. The quality of those backlinks. So no, paying for backlinks is the same thing as like paying for followers on social media. The diversity of those backlinks. So for example, 100 backlinks from one website is not as beneficial as having 20 backlinks from 20 different websites. The quality of the content that lives on that website, and then the website's age and how long it's been around is also a ranking factor again. So your domain authority is going to be lower automatically because you're a newer website. And then patterns of growth in those backlinks. So for example, one of my goals, trying not to, I can't do it all, is to at least grow by one backlink a quarter. And there are easier ways to do that, right? Your local chamber of commerce, you could make sure that, I think I mentioned this in another episode, if you're going on podcasts, make sure that they have a blog for their podcast and that they're linking back to their website. Another really cool way of doing that is guest blogging on other websites. So making sure that you're backlinked and on a guest blog, that's something that I definitely will be exploring for relevant web pages and relevant websites going forward. Again, backlinks are important. It is something that is easy to strategize and kind of grow. We'll do some more information on my blog and on my podcast later, but again, from a high level perspective, it is a metric that you are going to want to monitor. And for example, my only links right now are my own podcast, because podcasting platforms will have the link to my website, but there's no diversity in those backlinks. It's always going to be the same podcasting platforms. So after a while, there's no value necessarily on those backlinks, or I should say additional value on those backlinks. So to recap, right? Episode 1 of my SEO mini series, we talked through what is SEO, what are the free monitoring tools you need to have set up. Episode 2, we talked about what are keywords and where should you be putting them. A little bit I touched base on the amount of copy that you should have on each web page, but then the tools that you can be using to search for those keywords. The third component of SEO then is, which I didn't even touch about, like the technical SEO side on page speed, because that is going to be something that is a lot harder to optimize. It is important from an SEO ranking perspective, but it is not something that I can teach on a podcast. However, if you do a website audit on Ubersuggest, you will be able to see your page speed insights and see how fast and if it is impacting you. Unfortunately, with AI and crawlability, your mobile web page needs to be loading in less than 4 seconds. And for example, that is very hard to do on Squarespace. It is something that Squarespace is not great for. If you have WordPress, you can do plugins for it. There's something called lazy loading that you need to optimize. Again, it's going to be the more technical side, but page speed is important. But really what we focused on today was the other additional core SEO metrics that you need to make sure that your websites have, regardless if you are building your own web pages or if you were paying a web designer. They need to make sure that they're doing this. Otherwise, the work that they're doing isn't going to be valued from Google. And that, again, is your proper header tags and making sure that those are keyword rich header tags, making sure your alt text is filled in, making sure that you have your SEO title and meta description completed, and then making sure that you are linking. Now, I did talk about backlinks. The other important thing is internal links. If you write a blog post about something else and it relates to a different blog post that you've had, make sure you're doing your internal links as well. I would generally suggest we'll do a whole episode on blogging, but each blog should have at least 4 links, internal, external, etc. But it should be kind of tying the web together if you think about it like that. So even when it comes to your services pages, when it comes to your website pages in general, the more you can link internally or externally as relevant, the better. Now, again, if you're linking to an external website, make sure it's one that is reputable, that is not spam, and that is not going to be in direct competition with yourself. So, for example, when we do our Pilates blogs for my client, we make sure that we're linking to maybe research or kind of more like the informational type pages versus a direct competitor of hers. Those are going to be your high level SEO metrics that you should be looking at when it comes to on-page SEO. Next episode will be our final episode, kind of at a high level of what to look at from a search engine optimization, and that's going to be all about blogging. Blogging is not dead. Blogging clearly still gets traffic because, again, within a day, I'm already starting to rank for keywords, but it is something that you have to be intentional about. And I was not for a year and a half of blogging, did not get any traffic. And now I feel like at least going in with a formula of knowing what I should and shouldn't be prioritizing is going to give me a better value and a return on investment when it does come to blogging, to making sure that my long form content is optimized. Now, these tips can also relate to YouTube, can also relate to podcasting, right? Your header tags, your descriptions, all of that kind of stuff is something that is also important on Google and podcasting. So keep that in mind. Even if you are not a blogger, this can be relevant to you. But until next time, keep on taking one step towards being better every day, and we will talk soon. And that's a wrap on today's episode of the Being Better Everyday podcast. Thank you for listening. I truly appreciate each listener. If you've enjoyed the conversation, I'd love if you would leave a rating and review or share it with your bestie to help me reach more women looking to ask the hard questions and live above that status quo. To see any visuals, head over to my YouTube channel. Links, socials, and resources mentioned can be found in today's show notes. If you're looking for more, you can find me on Instagram at julie.pwdesigns, sharing the behind the scenes of my everyday life as a millennial mom, corporate girly, and small business owner. Until next time, keep on taking one step at a time towards your version of being better every day.